So Enviroschools is a nationwide program for schools and ECEs, and that's a long-term commitment to sustainability. So tamariki and young people get to experience environment, and then they're empowered to think about how to take sustainable action in their spaces and also in their communities. It can look quite different across Aotearoa, and I'm a community facilitator in Te Upoko o Te Ika o Maui, so that's the Wellington region. There's 8 of us in this space working in, different parts of the region. Enviroschools program is underpinned by 5 guiding principles, ngā matapono, so that's empowered learners, learning for sustainability, sustainable communities, honouring te ao Māori, and respect for diversity. So they underpin everything within the kaupapa, and they can look different in every ECE centre and school. And then also we have a whole lot of supporting resources around those guiding principles, as well as our key learning areas, which are zero waste, ecological buildings, precious energy, healthy wai, and living landscapes. So I think the important thing about empowered learners, our tamariki and our young people, they're participating in genuine ways in decision making and also action taking, whether it's in their particular space or in their community. So they become part of the planning, the processes, the practices, and they're leading those, which really makes them have a deeper connection to those processes, but also being a real part of the change and creating meaningful change in those spaces. In terms of connecting with te taiao, what it is and why it's important, this can look so different in many spaces, but it's having opportunities to be in nature, be in the natural world, in te taiao, and being free to explore it. And that might be in a nature space in a centre. So whether you've got mara gardens, you might have native plantings, or it could be that bringing nature into a centre, so having lots of nature play and free play with taonga like shells and rako, pine cones, water, sand, and it can also be being able to explore local nature spaces, so close to a centre. For example, a local park or a local ngahere where there's chances to choose where to explore and what interests tamariki have, whether it's looking at the leaf litter, looking for worms in a worm farm, or it might be experiencing a local stream in Awa and seeing what's living in there. I think because our ECE spaces are so different, ways of connecting with nature can be so broad, and as many opportunities as our tamariki have for that. It helps to really build a deep connection and to become tangata tiaki, so wanting to look after those spaces and the creatures that live there. But every centre is so different, so it looks different. The journey, Enviroschools journey, looks different, and I know empowering our tamariki to listening to our child's voice and following the actions and ideas that they have is really builds their mana, and it gets whānau on board, because our tamariki are proud going home and sharing what they're learning or a special space, and that's really exciting when whānau have been back to visit somewhere and that tamariki has shared that with the family, is sharing that has been something that they've really wanted to do. For our tamariki, a lot of these everyday small actions, they're learning that connects to te taiao and that they can really have an impact. What they're doing does make a difference. And they love to share that with whānau. And one of the ways that we had tamariki express that was by the idea of wanting to clean up a local beach. So you could organise a weekend event where family and whānau are invited, or local community to do that. And by coming together, it's quite a different experience, and everyone's sharing that responsibility. Really, and we had that happen in a centre where a child led that, and it became an annual event, which is really special. And a different way to experience nature and to be sharing those experiences with our whānau and our community. Yeah, so I just thought I'd share a couple of examples about what empowered tamariki and what the action taking might look like in a centre setting, and then perhaps in an out of centre nature hikoi or nature explore type setting. So with a regular hikoi or regular trips to a nature space, it's having tamariki talking about where they would like to be going. They might have a particular interest area. They get to shape those experiences and revisit those places that become very special to them, and helps to form those deep connections. For some, it's the physical challenges of being in te taiao, so it's climbing up a bank, or it's going up those lots of stairs, or the really big track, and feeling that sense of pride in being able to do that, or practicing it to get better at it. Also being able to think about how they can look after those spaces. It might be the picking up rubbish, or noticing different things and different plants and animals that are living there, and how we can be investigating them and looking at them, but also being really gentle and respecting those spaces. Sometimes we would collect different taonga that we found on the track, might be flowers or stones and sticks, and they might like to create a special art piece or an offering before they leave, as a way of sort of saying thanks and a mihi for being in those special places. Yeah, or it might be there's a special path and they might like to draw with some chalk or something as a way of communicating how they feel about those spaces or what they like to do there. The other in-centre setting I have is around waste, and checking in with our tamariki about what waste is, looking at how this impacts on our life, what it looks like, and what solutions they might have for perhaps reducing waste in a centre. And that can be looking at food scraps and recycling, reducing, using different items for collage, reusing paper, feeding worms is always really popular, taking food scraps to the compost, but actually tamariki leading those practices as well. So they might be emptying the recycling bins every week, or creating a special poster or like visual communication about a little recycling depot or spot you might have in your centre. So they could draw posters, they could be drawing the numbers of the different plastic items that can go in there. And just really helping them to lead that and sharing that with other tamariki that are starting, or they're very good at reminding kaiako where things should go, and then sharing those messages back home, and they really get that sense of leadership, and their mana in those spaces is really built up. The other thing is taking photos of those practices so that they can see what they're doing in those spaces, and another way of just them being able to communicate, this is me, and sharing those different things that they're doing.